You know, in just about every large company, there's this massive gap. On one side, you have the big, ambitious company strategy. And way over on the other side, you have the teams who are actually doing the work, day in and day out. Today, we're going to talk about how you build a bridge between the two.
Does this sound familiar? You're in a big meeting, a brilliant multi-year strategy gets unveiled, and you're all fired up. But then months go by, and you look around and, well, nothing has really changed on the ground, has it? It's super frustrating. There's this huge, invisible gap between what leadership wants and what the teams are actually building. So what's going on here? Where does that disconnect come from?
You can almost feel this gap in an organization, can't you? Over here, you've got strategy, the big bets, the market goals. And way over there, you've got execution, the developers, the designers, the people actually making things happen. That chasm between them? Well, it's usually caused by old, outdated ways of managing work, especially that traditional, rigid project management style that just wasn't built for the world we live in today.
Yeah, the root cause isn't just poor communication, it's the system itself. Think about it. Traditional project funding is slow. It creates these temporary teams for one-off projects. This leads to something called utilization-based planning, which is just a fancy way of saying we're constantly shuffling people to the work. It causes endless friction, tons of delays, and we lose so much knowledge every single time a team gets broken up.
So how do we fix this whole mess? Well, this is where Lean Portfolio Management, or LPM, comes in. I want you to think of it as the bridge that finally connects strategy with execution. It's a huge shift in thinking that applies Lean principles to the entire organization, and it's what unlocks real business agility.
Okay, so we've established that LPM is the bridge. Sounds great, right? But what's that bridge actually made of? What's holding it up? It's actually elegantly simple, and it all comes down to 3 core collaborations working together to keep everything in sync.
The whole framework basically rests on these 3 pillars. First up, you have strategy and investment funding. This is all about making sure the money is flowing to the right initiatives that support the strategy. Second, there's Agile Portfolio Operations, which is focused on making sure teams can coordinate and work together smoothly. And third, we have Lean Governance, which gives us just enough oversight to keep things on track, but without all that old-school, slow-moving bureaucracy. These 3 together create a really powerful system for alignment.
All right, now let's dig into one of the most powerful, and I mean game-changing, ideas in all of LPM. It's a complete rethink of something super fundamental, how we actually fund the work itself.
This right here shows the core shift. See, the old way was all about temporary project teams that were constantly being put together and then torn apart. We were moving people to the work. The LPM approach flips that entirely. We create stable, long-lived teams organized around what we call value streams. Think of these as permanent teams dedicated to a specific product or customer. The magic is you move the work to the people, not the other way around. This one change cuts down on so much overhead and lets teams truly become masters of their domain.
So, you might be wondering, if we're not funding individual projects anymore, how do teams know what they should be working on? Great question. The high-level strategy gets translated through something called strategic themes. These are really just clear, simple business goals, often written as OKRs, or objectives and key results. They act as the North Star for the portfolio, connecting the company's big ambitions to the team's daily work. Everyone knows what value looks like right now. Okay, so we've got our funding model straightened out, and we have our strategic direction. Now let's get practical. How does a big, ambitious idea actually go from being a cool concept to a real product in a customer's hands inside this system?
In the world of LPM, a big initiative isn't a project. It's called an epic. And trust me, this is not just a simple name change. An epic is treated like a scientific hypothesis. It needs a lightweight business case to even justify its existence, and most importantly, it needs a super clear definition of a minimum viable product, or MVP, which we'll use to test that hypothesis.
And this is how we manage those epics with complete and total transparency. The portfolio Kanban board shows the entire workflow from idea to done. Now, the really crucial part here is that it uses work in process, or WIP limits. That just means we limit how many big ideas we're working on at any given time. This forces us to prioritize and stops teams from getting swamped, which ensures a smooth, predictable flow of valuable work.
So, that implementing stage is where the magic happens. We don't just go and build the whole epic. No way. We build the MVP. Why? Because the entire purpose of the MVP is to answer one critical question. Does our business idea actually work in the real world? It's the smallest possible experiment we can run to get real feedback before we commit to a massive, expensive investment. It's all about learning fast and killing bad ideas early.
Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. A system with this much freedom and decentralized decision-making, doesn't that sound like a recipe for chaos? Where's the control? Well, that's where that third pillar comes in, lean governance. But listen, this is not your grandpa's slow-moving approval committee. This is all about smart guardrails, not red tape.
Lean governance uses a few simple policies called guardrails. For instance, capacity allocation might just be the organization agreeing that, say, 60% of our effort goes to new features, 25% to keeping the lights on, and 15% to paying down tech debt. These aren't rules meant to slow people down. They are simple, clear guidelines that empower teams to make smart decisions on their own while keeping everybody pulling in the same direction.
And that collaborative vibe extends all the way to budgeting. Instead of big decisions being made behind closed doors by a select few, LPM uses a really cool process called participatory budgeting. This is basically a forum where all the key stakeholders get together in a room to decide how to best invest the portfolio's money to chase after the best opportunities. It makes budgeting a transparent, agile team sport.
So with all these great ideas floating around, how do we decide what to do first? It's not about who shouts the loudest or who has the most important sounding title. LPM uses a simple but powerful formula called weighted shortest job first. It helps teams prioritize by answering a few key economic questions. How valuable is this? How time critical is it? And how much effort will it take? By looking at the economics, it ensures teams are always working on the thing that will deliver the biggest bang for the buck the fastest.
When you boil it all down, lean portfolio management is so much more than just a new process or another diagram on a slide. It's a fundamental mindset shift. It's about moving from temporary projects to long-lived value streams, from top-down control to empowered decentralized decisions. It's what finally allows a huge company to start moving with the speed and agility of a startup.
So, I'll just leave you with this one question to think about. Take an honest look at your own organization. Is there a gap between your company's grand strategy and what's actually getting done every day? And if there is, are you building the right kind of bridge to finally close it?